18 handicap, looking to get on a more proper swing path to avoid the shanks. Pan over for confirmation. We've got a second swing here as well, which will point out a couple things before we get back to a quick tour comparison. So let's look at the setup here, as the knees are flexed pretty heavily, and it leads into a lot of left knee flex in that backswing. And when you do that, you do get a good rotation of the body, but it's leading you into flexing and extending, or jumping early, extending the spine, creating inconsistencies as to where the club might hit the ground. But also upon that, there's a lot of club face closure and release that you're doing with your wrist, stemming from your wrist angle or cupped angle at the top. So when that left wrist is cupped and you're trying to shallow out the club, it's often going to be a little bit more open with that face, and then you're either going to release, rotating it closed, or like the first one, get stuck in a little too close and catch the heel. So watch out for the wrist angle and the left knee flex, but here's our comparison for those two on a slightly better angle. So with your primary path line cutting through the shaft of the club, alignments and setup look okay, and the knee flex really doesn't look as bad from this perspective. But you still will flex that left knee, I think, a little too much early. And right as you're proceeding through your top position, you might be setting that weight to the left side, but it also looks like you're really eager to turn out of this. And with that rotation comes the steepness of your hand path. Now, your hand path is not necessarily the same as your club path. Look at the club, it's on your yellow primary path line, but your hands are a good few inches away from where they started. And clearing some lines, redrawing one here, that's your grip and your rear end. The rear end has moved in a couple inches, your hands have moved in more than a few inches, and that is why you struck it there. The heel also is a factor when the face is just generally open and you have not released it closed in time, but there's more than enough to work with there. The tour comp, and your last piece of information in an overloaded jam-packed session, is the knee flex in the downswing. Fading to JT, we're going to see a similar flex in the backswing, but really not as much working down and in with that left knee. Great core and flexibility strength to get that club continuously working at the top. With a very vertical position, that left wrist still remains flat, so the face is still square. As the swing will start down, his notorious move is to do something very similar with that right knee flex, pushing down and in towards the ball, but soon thereafter it is going to go from working towards the ball to working towards the target. And that drive will continue to get the low point more forward and clear the hips. With that much drive comes a lot of rotation as well. The club will lag behind. The wrist angles are remaining in a very bowed angle, which will keep that face square to closed with that much rotation, lining up and squaring up on the way through. Yeah, great, perfect model of JT, but the idea here for you to take away from this is to get your right knee to stop working so drastically towards the ball and start feeling like you're pushing more laterally off the back foot to get your right knee to force more towards target, opening the hips and allowing your spine to stay more down through strikes so that you don't early extend or jump out of your posture. With that hand path, you've got more room to avoid the shanks as well. Good luck. Sendaswing.com.